Alrighty, today is going to be day 2 of the solar improvement project. Yesterday, if you missed that part, basically all I did for these panels right here, these are the Santan solar panels. They're 240 or 45 watt panels. For those, basically all I did is lift them all up so I could clean out all the crap underneath them. And then while they were up, I rewired them because they were in a 6S. Now they're rewired in a 12S. And I also installed the Tigo rapid shutdown modules on those. Okay, so day 2, I think what we're going to do is we're going to move the 370 watt Sun Gold power panels to this roof right over here. Now, in my last video, whenever I was asking for suggestions for this, got a lot of great comments about this area. A lot of people mentioned just putting them across the ridge right up there, which is a great idea. And then of course they also mentioned put them across the roof line and then put another array right below that, you know, and then of course everybody's like, just fill up the whole roof, you got tons of roof, you know, including on the other side, which of course I would love to do that, but all that costs money. I don't have enough funds for all of that. So anyway, whenever I was editing that video, I went ahead and ordered some stuff that I could mount onto this roof right here. And those are the SnapNrack, I think they're called top load mounts or something like that. I'll show you here in just a second. Whenever I was editing the last video, I just figured I was gonna put all 12 on this roof and not put them across the ridge right up here. Although that does seem like a really good idea because obviously that's gonna be the spot that gets sun the soonest. But this part right here also gets sun pretty quick. It gets sun a hell of a lot quicker than all this over here. So that's what my plan is gonna be, is to put them all on this section of the roof. Of course, I know many of you are gonna say, don't do that, you know, put them across the ridge. I'm not doing that. I'm gonna put them right here. And there's a few things that I'm going to do, which I don't think you're technically supposed to by code and all that kind of stuff. One of them is being 3 feet away from the fireplace, you know, stuff like that. And then the next one is gonna be 3 feet from the ridge up here, and then probably the 3 foot away from that edge over there. I'm not sure what the code is, you know, down here for this bottom section, but anyway, I'm not worrying about the code. This is all for off-grid and my use only. So I'm gonna have to go up a little closer to the ridge. I'm gonna be a little bit closer than 3 feet to the fireplace. And then I'm gonna be a little closer than 3 feet away from that edge over there. However, I should get just a tiny walkway over here if I need it. So basically where this rail is right here, that's gonna be the edge of my panel. So I've got, I don't know, 2 feet right there. Okay, and then right here where I have this mount, that's basically the spot where it's gonna be in comparison to the roof ridge. So, I mean, technically it's about a foot away. You will be able to see the edge of the panels from the street out there, but there's nothing really I can do about that. And then when they go down here, and then down here for this one, it's, you know, it's basically right next to this valley right here, which probably isn't ideal, but that's what I'm going to do. I guess one positive note down here is, though, once the panels are installed, I'll have a 3 foot walkway in between the other panels that are going to be going right here. Okay, so basically that's what we're going to be doing today, is moving all these panels to this section right here. All right, like I said, I'm going to be using the SnapNrack mounts, and if you use these particular SnapNrack mounts, you can basically go on their website and kind of create your own array, and it'll give you exactly how many mounts you need and all that kind of stuff. There is actually one other thing that's supposed to be included with this kit, and it's a skirt that goes along the bottom down here. I'm not going to be doing that because, you know, we're right next to trees, and I believe that's just going to be another leaf catcher, so I'm going to not do that. One thing that that skirt does do, though, is basically bond the 3 panels right here, because the rest of the SnapNrack mounts bond all of these up, you know, going up. So I will have to manually bond these 3 together, you know, and then run my ground or whatever over to, you know, wherever I'm going to be running it to. So I'm not going to be doing a skirt. All right, so that's going to basically be the array right there. These are the mounts that I'm going to be using. It's basically a railless, a railless system. I bought all of these from Signature Solar. They're called SnapNrack TopSpeed mounts, and there's the part number if you need to see that. They come in the box in 2 different pieces right here. With this system, you don't have to find your, your joist or whatever it is going up and down. You can basically mount these anywhere you want. However, you have to install it, on a full shingle. All right, you're basically not supposed to put it, on 2 layers like that, where they go from this layer to that layer. You basically have to install it on 1 single layer right here, all right? And then whenever you do, screw it down to the roof. These are like some foam pads right here. You're going to fill these little cups right here with your roof sealant. Once you figure out your spot on the roof, you're going to set it down, and then you're going to drill in these lag bolts right here. These are 1/2 inch. All right, so that's what that piece is. And of course, the other piece that comes with it, that mounts all of your panels, that goes basically right here, and you tighten it down to whatever height you want, so it's fully adjustable up and down. And then this bolt right here allows it to slide forwards and backwards, all right? And that's basically how these SnapNrack, mounts work. All right, obviously, like I said, we're gonna be putting them over here on this roof right here. I do have 4 of the mounts sitting out here. They're not in precise location. I was just out here trying to figure out a rough location. Anyway, the next or first thing that we need to do is mark out this bottom row of mounts, and then we actually mount them to the roof, and then from there we grab one of our panels and then put 2 of the mounts on there, and then we bring them back over here, and we're going to kind of bring them in at an angle and then slide them down so we can mount that first row of panels. All right, and that's supposed to be pretty quick. Obviously, I've never used these before, so I'd imagine the first couple will go kind of slow, but it should go pretty quick after that. All right, so first thing we're gonna do is mark out our first row, and basically each one of these mounts right here, you're gonna put those SnapNrack mounts basically where you would put the rails. So it looks like I have got 2 options. I got a hole right here and a hole right over here. I think I'm gonna go over to this one right here, which is about 15 inches away from the edge, okay? So that's basically what we're gonna do now, is we're going to mark out our first row. And to do that, I bought some sidewalk chalk. All right, and this is gonna be my roof sealant that I'm using. I believe this is more like a black, tar type of stuff. If I don't get this to flow out of the nozzle very well, I also bought some through the roof sealant right here. I actually use this on a lot of other stuff, so this stuff works really, really good. If this stuff doesn't work, we're gonna use this. All right, so from the edge over here of my roof, the edge of my panel is gonna be about 24.5 inches. So we'll put a purple line here, about there. From there, I need to go 209.5 inches. That'll be the other outer edge of my panels here. And I'm also going to mark the gap. So these are 69 inches. The edge of my panel is gonna go right here. I'll do a 3/4 inch gap, which you can't really do with this really big chalk. All right, so there's the edge of that panel. Then we'll do 69 again. And then we'll see if this matches up at 69. It should. That's close. All right, so for this first mount, I'm gonna be 39.5 inches away from my roof edge over here. So I'm gonna mark that with my red or pink sidewalk chalk. Okay, that's gonna be number 1. All right, and then for these panels, I'm gonna go 39 inches away for my next mount, and then we'll make another mark. All right, I'll show you what we got so far. So basically I'm doing 24.5 inches over, and that's gonna be the edge of my panel right there. It might not be down this far, but that's basically this edge going up. All right, and then I measured over 15 inches, and then I made my line for my mount right there, all right? So from there, we go over the length of the panel, and that'll be right here, and then we have a 3/4 inch gap right there, and then from there to there is 15 inches, which will be my other mount, okay? And we basically did the exact same thing all the way down. All right, so the edge of the array will be roughly right here, depending on, you know, the accuracy of my sidewalk chalk. I mean, it's so thick, I mean, you know. And then my 3/4 inch gap, you know, in between the panels that I'll try to do. That's basically where the array is going to end. The next thing we can do is start installing our mounts, and the first two we're going to mount are basically the most outer two. Once we have those installed, we'll run a string line. I've got some string right over there. We'll attach it to those two mounts, and then we can perfectly line up the other ones. Alrighty, well, apparently I did not get to record installing this first row. I think I pressed pause while there was so much noise going on over there. Thank you for being so loud. Are you going to make it ever? And then I came back. You have to do that right now. Yes, thank you. Yep, what are we doing? Is he gonna make it? It's like my street is the busiest street around right now. Come on, dude, hurry it up.
5 hours later.
Is it going to teeter back?
Several song-filled hours later.
And didn't hit the record button. So anyway, so basically all I did obviously was I went on my little chalk marks right down there in the center, and then I made sure the mount was inside a shingle right through here, and then I filled up the pocket underneath with the sealant, and then, you know, just tightened them down. I did the outer two first, and then I ran a string line from the outside to outside, so basically I could line up all the ones here in the center. Okay, and then I don't know if I even got it or not, but I said the next step was pulling off these panels right here so we could install them right over here. All we have to do is install the mount, you know, 15 inches away from the edge right over there. We install that on the panel on both sides, and then we lift the panel up and kind of put it in at an angle, and then we'll lay the panel down. All right, once we lay the panel down, we basically have to make sure that this is in the center of a shingle. If it's not, then we just loosen this bolt and adjust it forwards or backwards. All right, that's what we're doing next. All right, so all we have to do is lift the panel up, and we're gonna install our mount right up here, which is right over the hole or 15 inches away from the edge. And we can tighten that one down. And then we'll do the same for this one right over here. Okay, now, what we're gonna do is very carefully attempt to put it over here onto these mounts right here, which that was pretty easy. Look at that, we're actually lined up with our marks right down here, so that's nice. All right, so we set the panel down. You can see the mount is actually right on the middle of two shingles, so we need to adjust it. I'm gonna try to go right in the middle if I can. All right, now you can see that we adjusted it, and now we're in the middle of the shingle. Before, when we set it down, we were basically on the middle, or the two shingles right there. So we adjusted that one, and we adjusted this one right here. Alrighty, before I get too far into this, I think what I'm gonna do real quick is go around to every single mount and loosen this bolt up so I can raise the panels up as high as I can possibly get off the roof here, and then I'll tighten those down. All right, next thing we can do is lift up the panel, fill up the pockets, and then tighten down the lag bolts, and then panel one is done. All right, here we go. No turning back. So we're gonna make sure these are pushed up all the way against the other mounts, right there. Boom. All right, now we can install our lag bolts. Boom, panel one is practically done. All right, so that's what you wanna see. After you tighten them down, you wanna see some of the sealant coming out. And there's also some little tiny washers in here. You can tighten it down until those slightly bulge, but the main thing is you wanna see a little bit of sealant coming out. Alrighty, well, let's get these panels installed. Alrighty, it is the very next morning. I had to quit kind of early last night because it was just way too hot out here in the sun. So you definitely want to do this when it's cooler out if you can, you know, in springtime or fall time. But no, I chose to do it in the middle of summer. But that's all right, we're gonna get back to it. Basically, yesterday, I just tried to level this row as best as I could because my roof, you know, has some waviness to it. It's definitely not perfect or anything like that, but as my dad would say, from a galloping horse, you wouldn't be able to see it. All right, so that's where I'm at. Let's get to it. And typically what I do next is this extra that comes out, I just kind of squeeze it across the front. Similar to that right there. I just squeeze it across the front. And for the ones down here, I just kind of put it all over because this is the lowest point. All the snow and rain obviously is gonna come off to this point. This would be the area that would get the highest chance for water intrusion. So I just kind of loaded them up on these bottom ones. All right, so we can take our SnapNrack mounts. Just lift these up. All right, then we can go ahead and put these on to make it a little bit quicker. So you find your spot on the edge of your panel with the curved side, you know, going towards the peak. And set that on there, right over the hole, the mounting hole, and then tighten it down like that. And then we grab the other end and do the same thing. I'm gonna set this down real quick so I can get the location right here. Which actually this one looks pretty good, so I'm gonna tighten this one. Probably should have grabbed a better wrench. Okay, and then we just fill her up. And then we're on to the next. Here we go. All right, we only have one panel left, and it's right over there. Boom, there we go. Finally got all 12 panels installed, and guess what? It only took me 2 days. Not 2 full days, but you know, 2 half days because it's so freaking hot right now. It's literally over 100 degrees up here on the roof, and it's nice and muggy. It's just super duper weather, but that's okay. We get her done. So the only thing I have left to do right now is I just have to maybe level a couple of these panels down here so it looks a little bit better. And then I'm gonna do some temporary wiring so I can make use of the panels today, because I still need to do the conduit from this array over to my box that I'm still waiting on. And then of course, whenever that box is installed, you know, I'll have to run a piece of conduit over to this array over here. But I still have to bring up the other Santan solar panels so I can put those up here. So anyway, I would say this is looking fan-freaking-tastic. What do you guys think? And we didn't go too far up here onto the ridge up here. We're a little further back than I thought we were going to be. Even though you shouldn't be up this high. Don't tell anybody, that's just what I did right here. Okay, but from the street, ooh, you might not actually be able to see them. If you do, it's just gonna be a little tiny bit. Maybe I can paint those aluminum pieces black and I can make everything match up here. I might actually do that. Huh. Yeah, I might do that. I might spray paint those black so everything's nice and matchy up here. And those mounts have worked out fan-freaking-tastic. These Sun Gold power panels are looking fan-freaking-tastic, and I can't wait to hook them up, which we're gonna do right now temporarily. All right, so what I need to do now is pull off this little cover so I can run some THHN wire like I have right here. And then I need to add some more of those Dinkle connectors and then switch over to the PV wire. So I do need to make some PV extensions from this array over to that spot right there. And then we can hook this array up and start charging some batteries. Alrighty, we're gonna be doing just some temporary wiring for the meantime because I'm still waiting on my Easy Solar junction box. It's designed for the roof up here. I also still need to bring up the solar panels for this array up here. Anyway, whenever you go into a building or a structure with your solar runs, your DC wires, you're technically supposed to go through metal conduit of some sort. I don't have metal conduit there. I did this probably at least 15 years ago. I didn't know anything about it then. I'm not going to replace it with metal conduit. I'm just going to use the existing PVC conduit that I have. Anyway, basically what you want to use for your wire runs whenever you go inside is basically building wire. It's THHN stranded wire. I'm going to be using 10 AWG, and then from out here we're going to be switching over to the PV cable, which is this stuff right here. You want to use this stuff outdoors because it's basically UV rated. It's rated for outdoors. The THHN wire is not rated for outdoors. So anyway, we're gonna run some 10 AWG wire down to my solar combiner box, which is down inside of my garage. And then we gotta run some PV wire from the solar array right over here. Later on again, whenever I do get this junction box, I'm gonna run some conduit over to that array. Since I don't have the junction box, I'm not even gonna run the conduit. But again, we will do that later on. I've got my red, my black, and my green for ground right over here. We're gonna run that straight down. I'm not sure how many feet I actually need. It's not very far. Gonna tape all three of these together and we'll just run it down to my combiner box in the garage. Let's run this right along here. All right, I'm gonna run downstairs real quick and make sure we have enough wire down there, and that'll be it. We'll cut it off right up here, and then we'll do my temporary wiring switch into the Dinkle connectors.
Moments.
I'm gonna leave a good foot and a half outside, just in case I need a little extra. Snip, snip, and snip. Alrighty, next thing we need to do is run our MC4 extension cables, or basically the wires or cables that are gonna go from this array to the junction box here. So how this array goes, it's basically positive right here. It goes up this way, comes down, and then it goes back up. So I've got a cable sticking out right there, and then the other one is actually sticking out right here, okay? So we're gonna run this one along the bottom edge right here, and then over a little bit, and then of course that one is just gonna be ran along the bottom right over here. So we'll make some extension cables for those real quick. Again, I'm gonna have links for everything in the description if anybody's looking for this stuff, but this is 10 AWG PV wire right here, and then we got the MC4 connections right here, okay? So we got all this stuff right here that we'll be using. I guess I could show you how these work real quick if you like. I'm sure if you're watching this, you probably have seen how these go on, but if not, I'll show you real quick. Don't worry, this is live, but it's technically shut down through the RSDs. There's only like 3 volts coming out of that. So anyway, the easiest way that I can explain it, or I can show you how I remember, which parts go together, is you always have to have a female with a male connector right here. It can't go female to female. One can't identify as a female but actually be a male. you know, and vice versa, stuff like that. It can only be a female and a male together, and that's how I remember it. And it's the same thing for the other end. The outside is the male and the inside is the female. All right, so you're gonna take your wire cutters, you're gonna cut off about 3/4 of an inch or so. You don't need to go bigger than that. Next thing you're going to do is take your connector right here and insert it into your MC4 crimping tool. We're gonna do 1 click. All right, 1 click is gonna hold it, and then we're gonna insert our wire right here. Make sure you get all strands all the way in, and then just crimp it down. Boom. Then give it a little tuggy tug, make sure it doesn't come off. And if it doesn't, all we need to do from here is put on the MC4 connector right here until it clicks, which is kind of hard to hear. Give it another tuggy tug, and if it doesn't come off, you're good to go. Then you can tighten down the back shell right here, and that's pretty much it. Boom, done. All right, so I'm gonna do the same thing with this one, is just route it underneath and wire clip it in place. All right, next thing we're gonna do, like I keep saying, this is temporary. We're just going to hook this up so I can make use of those solar panels until my junction box comes in. I do wanna mark this real quick so I don't forget later on. This is my positive. Hook you guys up. Okay. Of course, I don't condone doing this unless you know what you're doing. Actually, I'm not telling you what you should or shouldn't do. This is just what I'm doing for the moment until my other stuff comes in. My ground wire, I'm just going to shove over here for the moment. And then I'm going to temporarily put this cover back on so we don't get too much water down that. Feel all the heat from the roof through my shoes. That's how hot it is right now. This is terrible. I shouldn't be up here, actually. Alrighty, it's the very next day, and I was going to take a quick look at Solar Assist if you guys wanted to see it. So the days that I have up here are 623 and 624. I don't know if we actually need to look at this top range right up here, because this shows basically everything. We're actually more interested in PV array 2 and how much power it makes. You can basically see we connected the array roughly 230, and we just boom jump up to a little over 3 kilowatt, and then we're already on our downhill slope, you know, because it's past noon, etc. But if we shoot over to right over here when we start charging, I mean, we're already start charging a lot sooner than what we were previously, but I want to get right down here at the bottom of the peak. So at 9 o'clock, that's basically when the sun starts hitting the top of the panels up there on the roof ridge. All right, so we're doing 450 watts, and then look at this, like 10 minutes later, 15 minutes later, we're already doing 1.7 kilowatt. And then by 9:30, we're doing 2.29 kilowatt. This is why we move the panels to that section of the roof, because we can charge so much sooner than what we could before. I mean, this is just amazing. Holy crap. All right, and then it looks like we kind of peak out at 3.44 kilowatt, you know, roughly 12:10, 12:15. And also keep in mind right now, the temperatures outside have been well over 100 degrees, so we're not actually getting full power out of these panels. If the temperatures were a little bit cooler, I know we'll get a lot more power out of them because I've seen it. I've actually seen a lot more than what these panels say they can produce, which is freaking crazy to me. All right, let me go to another day so I can show you what it used to look like. All right, so if we go to June 14th and we go to 9 o'clock, which is what we just looked at on the previous one, we're only doing 205 watts. And then if we go to 9:30, look at that, only 416 watts. That's what we were making at 9 o'clock. And then if we go to 10 o'clock, we're still only doing 482. All right, by this time we were already doing what, like 2.5 kilowatt? All right, 10:30 we're doing 2.21. And 11 o'clock, which I don't think the panels are in full sun quite yet on this day, so we're only doing 2.5. And then we'll just say 11:30. They could be in full sun right about then. I can't actually remember. 2.55K. All right. And then we peak out again at 1 o'clock at 3.45 kilowatt. So this is freaking amazing. This is exactly why we moved those panels, because we can start charging roughly 9 o'clock, 9:30, and we're already doing, you know, a few thousand watts. Alrighty, there we go. Part 2 of the solar improvement project is complete, and I'm just really excited because I've never been able to charge this quickly, this soon, ever in the history of mankind, which is, it's awesome. Which many of you know, obviously, if you saw the other videos, is I have all the trees in the backyard, and a lot of you guys said, hey Joe, why don't you do some tree maintenance and either cut the top off or, you know, have somebody come in and just trim them up, which is a really good idea. Honestly, I didn't really think of that for some reason, but you guys are smart, I'm not. Thank you again for the recommendations. Also, for some reason, I'm not sure why my Easy Solar roof mount box thingy is not here yet. I don't know if it's lost in the mail or what, but hopefully that'll be here sometime soon. And one thing I want to mention about those SnapNrack top load mounts, or whatever they're called, they're actually really nice. They do go on pretty quick and easy. I know the first ones I did, you know, I didn't do it, you know, how you're supposed to do it. The best way to do it, you know, if you have your panels on the ground, is to go ahead and mount your mounts on the panels. That way, whenever you bring them up there, you can just slide them in and go down. Slide them in and go down. Since I already had the panels up there, I mean, the first couple I didn't do that. I just brought the panels over and then put the mounts on there, which is fine. But yeah, so far I am liking those mounts. The only, I guess, drawback that I can see right now is if your roof isn't, you know, perfectly flat, like mine isn't. My roof kind of does this whole thing, so you do have some adjustments in those mounts, but I mean, you can only do so much. So I do have a slight curve in the array, but you know, like my dad said, you can't actually see it from a galloping horse. All right, that's pretty much all I got. So video 3, which I'm gonna start hopefully tomorrow, we're going to reinstall the other Santan solar panels back up on the roof. So we're gonna have to do that. We're gonna have to install the Tego rapid shutdown modules and probably run some temporary wiring until that roof mount box shows up. And then we'll probably have to do a video 4 where we, you know, complete all the wiring correctly. I don't know, we'll find out. All right, so that's pretty much all I got. If any of this video was helpful in any way, don't forget to like that smash button on your way out, and I will see you. I gotta wait for the Jeep. Come on, Jeep. Get out of here, dude. And yeah, every time I wanna come outside, there's always something happening. So we will, ow, that's hot as shit. Could be a plane, could be a UFO, could be a drone. I don't hear anything. Maybe it's probably a UFO.